we have been working closely with SAP for developing the automation tools. Just wanted to know. So you are having a SAP background. So basically, we have like any automation workflows, anything which we are nowadays. Previously, we working with this RPA tools. Now we are specifically developing all those inside our SAP BPA. Okay. So I will just now share my screen and we'll start with the presentation. Starting with this build process automation. Before going on, we have this BPA is being hosted the service on the SAP Business to Transform Technology platform, which is an open cloud based, and where we can design and develop different automation as well as like AI solutions. Okay. Also, previously we have since SAP was using the third-party softwares like for to interact with the businesses were using this Blue Prism automation anywhere UiPath to interact with SAP. So now, like since with the just to add a modification, now SAP have come up with their own automation tool, which is build process automation, where we are developing the business workflows, automations, and regular tedious tasks which we are being done by the normal human. Next, basically, if I start with a specific intro of this one, so in this one, this is a composition with RPA with the robotic process automation, additional with the different workflows and build labs development. So this is mainly where we start with the automating the end-to-end workflows. We just develop sequential steps. Basically, it is a low-code or no-code environment first. So there, you don't need to have very technical jargon. Okay, it is just drag and drop. Simple steps are provided in the form of I would say actions, and also there if you are new to this thing, so then there are also templates which can be leveraged to complete the task, which can be reused. Like if you see, we have this code modules, right? In our SAP, we develop some function modules, and then we use those particular modules in our any customize or enhancement program, right? So similarly, with SAP Build Process Automations, we have already those templates, or I would say, already built standard processes by SAP, which they have provided in their store, which we can use and enhance as per our requirement. So in this one also, we develop this complete automation part. Like I said, the regular tedious task, routine task, which the normal human was doing before, those we develop. This is a no-code interface. So basically, there I would not say that it is completely no-code. There is a slight coding required. So it is like so much calculation need to be done. Familiar with the JavaScript also. So then a little some set of JavaScript is required. Other than that, rest of most of the actions are being done by the specific, I would say, packages. And inside those packages, the specific modules are there. Like for example, if you are doing a reading Excel part, so in that case, you will be doing this particular, you will just get the Excel SDK, which is software development kit, Excel. And then you will be just dragging and dropping the particular step which you need to do with your like file input. Next, there is a AI document processing. So with respect to AI document processing, for example, we have a lot of invoices present. And those invoices need to be, I would say, fed to the SAP to create to just like for the record. So then with this one, we can also leverage, for example, a document information extraction service that can be used to read the data from the PDFs or any kind of documents. Okay. And then that can be similarly used and we can develop a complete process where we are feeding the data to the SAP. So, and like I said, the interface is no code or low code. So it is a very visually designed interface. So it is a complete, I would say, flow chart we develop in this particular thing. And then those flow of steps are basically the actions which we have dragged from the different packages to meet our basically goals. Okay. Next, we have this process visibility also. So process visibility is mainly when we have developed these all automations or workflows. So when we have to monitor that, which have been the how many failures, success, or on hold processes are there, or even running processes are there, that can also be done at the real time. So the process monitoring is very much easier with this build process automation. Moving on to the SAP build portfolio. So in this one, we have different components involved, like SAP Build Labs, where we can develop application itself using the same kind of features. Like in the application, we can design a form, the user will interact and then enter some information, feed it to some database, and then on the basis of that database will be giving some kind of results. So those app kind of also things can be also developed. Previously, like we also, if you're familiar with SAP Fiori, so in the SAP Fiori also we develop such kind of apps. So similarly, with the SAP Build, it is a most extended version where we can develop these simple apps, okay, without having the technical knowledge. Because in Fiori, specifically when we are designing complete interface, we should be knowing that which function should be used, okay, which container should be used. But in this one, if you want a text box, you can just drag the text box from the right side, and then you can just move on to the particular page on the form. It gets much easier for the any user or any newbie to create these things. Next, with the SAP Build Process Automation, since I said that this is a composition of RPA plus workflow. So in this one, you can develop full-fledged automations also. And along with that, you can develop the business workflows. I will just take an example, mass material. Now, every once two ways, generally somewhere it is followed that during cutovers, they create the materials in mass, or I would say some maybe other component, business component like company code in mass. Okay, so then in that case, if there is any approval also required, so that can be included using the workflow part. So workflow is mainly involved whenever we are doing complete creation or like any addition with the approval part where the data have been read and it have been processed maybe in some kind of sheet or maybe in an app we are showing. Post that, if so, we need to revalidate this thing, so this give a hold or I would say control to the users that they can stop or I would let the automation continue using the approval forms. Okay, so though we are developing the build labs and automation also, so those can be now the SAP build itself have this work zone, okay, where we can host these apps because ultimately they will be developing these in the SAP build labs and SAP build process automation. But for a business user who just need to interact with a simple, I would say, interface where they just need to upload the file. After uploading, it will just maybe give them the results or give a approval thing, and then they will just complete that, and the assets or any component will get created. But specifically for them, they have created this SAP build work zone. They where the user don't need to interact with development interface like our BPA and build apps. I would say with basic features which we have in this, it is a build visually. Okay. So it's not like you have to do complete coding like web coding. Okay. You just simply can do a drag and drop kind of things. Next, it is an easy collaboration thing. So it's not like you have to develop in SAP ABAP. We need to develop different includes, and inside that we put the different features, and then we make it run through the SAP report program. Okay, so it's not like that. Here we just combine each step with just I would say comes in the flowchart. Basically, combines all the sequential steps and perform when we trigger the bot. The integration is smooth, and along with that, complex applications can be also automated. So any web-based, Java-based, or I would say like any other application, HTML-based, those all can be automated with very like less complexity. And since it is a drag and drop feature, so it brings a simplicity of I would say not knowing the actual thing behind the code, but you can simply by this step itself, you can easily determine what this action is. So next, moving ahead, the SAP Process Automation have the product key capabilities. These are the different components also, you can say. So process is ultimately where means before going to process, I will say that we have in regular business, we have a tedious task or routine task which we perform in the form of task automation. Okay. So the second last one, which is task automation, we are developing each task in a means each regular routine task in several separate automations. And then in the process, what we do is during the course of we just define the course of business that we are doing these all routine tasks in a like in complete sequence. So basically, we combine those task automations inside the process and any other new component. So I will just maybe take an example. There is a daily routine where we are basis is doing some SAP analysis. Okay, by going to some T codes and sending a report to the business. So in process, our now the routine task is going to SAP and like in total, the whole thing is a routine task. But if we just break those into separate pieces, so going to SAP, doing the routine checks inside the SAP T codes, that is defined in that complete process we will define in the task automation. And Post that, we will be just if there is any, I would say, approval or send email, that we will developing in separate task automation. Both of them will be combined inside the process, where we will just provide a trigger. We can have different kind of triggers. It's not important that we have to manually do that. Since now if we are talking about AI, so we are ultimately it can be automatic. Okay, so if we can schedule maybe a routine job like we do in SAP. Okay, here it is much easier because it is easily monitoring and process visibility is there, so it is easy monitoring in that case. Okay, so those different task automation we combine and we put into the process, which is and the process I would say it is a complete routine of our business. Next, advanced workflows. So like I said, whenever there is a need of validation from the business perspective or any forum user perspective, so then we include this advanced workflows where we can give a hold to the user also, so that they can validate whether the data have got completely built correctly or not. If not, then they can reject or like disapprove this one, or if it is good, then they will be approving this thing, the workflow. Now, forms and multi-step approvals. So basically, we can develop some kind of forms where the user can be at runtime, or I would say at the beginning of the triggering any process. The business can simply, I would say, input the values, and also in the mid also we can include some forms where we need the user inputs. So this basically helps when there is like whenever in any business we don't have the full information at the very beginning. And along with the forms, we have multi-step approvals. Like I said, it gives a hold, or I would say control, to the user, so that they can check whether thing is correct or not. Next, business rules and decisions. So usually whenever we have some kind of raw data, we want that to be modified as per some specific business recommendations. I would say business follow follow of procedures. Okay, so they have a complete sequence that this will be processed in such particular I would say method. Okay, and then it will be moving on with this particular end result, I would say, or maybe a naming convention. Okay, so those kind of rules, business rules, we can include inside the business rules and decisions. So, and decisions is specifically where we are like whenever we are giving any some information, based on that some other thing should happen. So those outcomes and inputs and outcomes are defined inside the decisions part. Next, moving ahead, document understanding. So document understanding is ultimately have some PDFs to read, and that we need to feed it to the SAP. So that kind of document understanding part we also have in BPA, where we will be using some service like document information extraction service from SAP BTP, and then data can be easily read from those particular documents. Next, moving ahead, unified launchpad and task center. So basically, like I said, in this one, we have a specific work zone. So we have a different task center where we are just getting the approval task, everything. It have a unified, they have a separate inbox and task center for those. Need not to be merged with the SAP Build Work Zone. Most of the case can have its individual inbox where the user will be getting the task. Next, process visibility and flexibility. Like I said, that we can monitor the processes well using this build process automation. And any failures or any kind of things can be easily monitored even from the business perspective also. So even if the business have also the access, they can simply monitor these one without having the technical knowledge that how to see the processes, whether they are running or not. So it is very, I would say, user friendly. Next, task automation. So like I said, those are basically the routine tasks which we define, and those are being complete sequential steps are included in the task automation with the complete procedure, and that we merge in the process to get it done in a regular course of business. And next, like I said, pre-built content. So SAP have hundreds of templates which are already part of the SAP regular business processes. Okay, and that can be leveraged to maybe learning, as well as I would say reusability perspective. Those are much easier. Now coming on to the SAP Build Process Automation product. So it has almost four main components. First, lobby. Lobby is where you are creating, managing, and deploying business processes and action process projects. Business processes, we could say that the complete flow of steps we are developing in the business process. Action projects are mainly, for example, we are using any external functional module, okay, or maybe a external destination where we are importing, or I would say posting the information. So those specific actions we define and action projects, and in particularly those are also reusable. So it's not important that one action is aligned to one process. It can be used with multiple processes. With the lobby, we have process automation, business application studio, live processes, actions, and build apps, which are web and mobile also, and the backend apps also. Also, like just to have, you are familiar with SAP BTP, right? So it will be means I have almost covered most of the content with SAP BTP, giving examples. Okay, so you can intervene wherever you think that there is some confusion. Okay, I was talking about the lobby part, where basically first main component whenever we come into the SAP Build Process Automation, we can see the lobby where the different we can create, manage, and deploy the business processes. And we have the different sub components inside the lobby, like process automation, app studio, live processes, actions, and web and mobile and backend applications. Okay. Action projects, like I said, those are some kind of reusable function modules. Like for example, in SAP app also we have this standard BAPI or function modules, right? So if we want to leverage one BAPI to different business processes, we just create an action of for it. Okay, and that action can be simply used in different processes. Okay, and we can directly leverage it. So it is very much easier for creating a reusable component. Next, moving on to the store part. So store part have 480 plus pre-built content, and like pre-built content, I said there are already SAP have built their standard SAP business processes. Okay, every business have some kind of enhancements, or like including new fields or something. Okay, so that those kind of enhancements we can simply do by using leveraging that template in our business process. Basically, there is criteria also, like ultimately, since there is a huge variety of content present, so we can simply filter them on the base of project and format type, the content type which is free or paid, also the catalog and product, like what kind of product it is for material or any asset or invoice or anything. Along with that, publisher like who have published it. Most of the cases, not only that SAP can publish to the store. Okay, SAP have provided, but if let's say in our business we have a complete big store of SAP built, so there we can also host our business process also, which have been successfully tested in all scenarios. Okay, person can also use our business process also. Okay. Next, moving on to industry and line of business. So usually, since the different perspectives and different times, we are working on different businesses. Like sometimes we are working in energy and resources, energy and chemicals. Okay, sometimes we are using in like maybe life sciences project, right? So in such cases, we can simply find the particular processes using this industry and life processes line of business builder. Next, moving on, monitor. We have a very good process visibility from a business perspective. So for that particular point, we have been provided this monitor component where we can see the different jobs which are currently running, the jobs which have been hosted also. Okay, maybe not running, but currently hosted like from different users. Also, the processes which have gone into failure, success, or on hold. Okay, those also we can see. It is very much easier to monitor because various cases, if there is any kind of approval pending from any user, and we are unsure that why the process is not running or not completed, so we can simply monitor it from here also. Also, to notify the users inside the business process, also we can develop some kind of reminder schedule using the mail kind of thing, that we will be sending mail once the task have been triggered to the user, and then post that. It gets easier for us to track, like let's say they have been passed the 5 days SLA, so then another task will get triggered. So those all kind of things we can monitor inside the monitor component. And next, moving on to, like I would say, critical component, which is settings. Mostly in settings, we basically set up if information which we are using, the Outlook mail configuration. We have to also use the send email feature. So we are also setting the Outlook destination and everything in that. Okay. Other than that, we also create user roles inside that. So ultimately, BTP have already defined the user roles and all those things. But inside BPA, which user should have what kind of access, that will also be defined inside of our settings. And most importantly, whenever we are interacting with any local application in our desktop, we need the component desktop agent. So desktop agent basically interacts. What it simply does is whenever we trigger any process, it basically loads firstly the process inside the desktop agent, and wherever it is set up, it performs the task. I would say we will be doing on behalf of us work. Okay, so that is desktop agent. Next, we have you can see the explore the SAP Build Process Automation product screen, right? So basically, this is the view of the lobby where we have the create, where you can see the different processes. Okay, lobby, like I said, it contains all the processes, the apps, and everything. Connectors, I would say connectors. That the connectors, if you see actions and automation as the case, actions which we are using the added functionalities which we want to use leverage for multiple reusability. Those we have defined in the actions. Okay. Automation SDKs are basically SAP defined pre-built content. For example, not only the processes, but also the applications which we are using, like Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook. Those are defined inside the automation SDKs. An SDK is especially software development kit, or I would say a package in which is containing all the sub actions which we can perform in our applications. Now, store is ultimately the place where we have the pre-built content. And moving on below that, monitoring. Monitoring is where we are monitoring the processes, everything. And next, control tower, which control tower is basically where we are setting all the information. Okay, we are setting our environment, our desktop agents, user roles, and process which will host. We are just provide the right actions to the users. So workflow management. This is small build process automation. So it is a no code process builder. No code, mostly I would say 98% is no code. Okay, 2% is only required when we are doing some maybe extra crucial transactions which are not being performed in the normal thing. For example, if you get a complete business object which is having 100 records. Okay, we have run an API. It has given results with the 100 records. And now inside those 100 records, we want to do some kind of a specific assignment of the object attribute to a particular process. So that can be also performed at the BPA without including any coding. But also, since if we are familiar with JavaScript, it gets much easier to do those simple transactions. Next, real-time process visibility. So yeah, like I said, this is the monitoring we can do at real time. So it gives us a very big fair picture that telling that how our business processes are going on. Okay, so those comes in real-time process visibility. And decision management. Ultimately, we have business rules and decisions on the basis of our next course of actions are defined. So for example, I have a approval form. I have, if it is approved, so then it will send a mail to the approver that it is successfully approved. And if it is failure, so then we will send a mail to the user that some data needs to be corrected. Whosoever I would say, whoever have been uploaded this file. Okay. Next, visibility scenarios allows you to track the end-to-end processes performance, and we can also configure the different aspects of scenarios such as events and context of the processes. Okay, so whenever we are triggering any process, maybe sometime we need to specifically have some kind of pre-built structure in which we are in putting some information. Any information missing will not let the process to get triggered. Okay, so those specific I would say initial attributes we can also divide in for any business process, so that on the basis of those only it will get triggered. Now with monitor, you can monitor the triggers inside a visibility scenario. Okay, that is fine. And like I said, previously we have RPA, and then SAP have come up with its own tool. IRPA was a later version, but before that SAP IRP, Intelligent Robotication Studio. Okay, so process automation, sorry. So then basically that was having a local, like it was a, I would say, desktop version, but we have come with the cloud version of developing processes. So it's need not to set up any kind of thing pre-built inside our this like any system. Okay, we can access it from anywhere. Okay, using the SAP BTP Cloud Cockpit. and you simply leverage the SAP Build Process Automation service and develop the processes. And it is easy to migrate also the previous processes into the new one. Next, it have its own My Inbox app. So it need not to be dependent on the build workzone already built app, for which we have used for the flexi workflows, which we are creating previously on SAP Build. Okay. SAP Build Process Automation have its own My Inbox, so it gets much way easier to develop these things. Next, I am on the screen of SAP Build Process Automation creation. Okay, so SAP Build Process Automation combines the workflow management, RPA functionality, decision management, processability, and embedded AI capabilities. So basically, these are all the, I would say, crucial components for any business to perform. Workflow management, we have whenever there is approval required in the regular course of business. Okay, RPA functionality to do the repetition task. Decision management help us to determine the conditions in which we just distinguish different steps. Okay. Process visibility is ultimately from a business user perspective, that way we are monitoring the processes, whether they have been successfully gone through or not. Okay. And embedded AI capabilities helps you to we makes the user interface way much easier, okay, to go forward. And since it is a one intuitive low code in experience, so it gets much easier for any user without the technical jargon to know what the process is doing. We can create the forms, visibility scenarios, and triggers in editor. So if you see, generally whenever you will go inside a process, you through the SAP build lobby, you will be seeing the different components which are visible, and inside that, basically we will be able to create the forms ultimately for any process to trigger. You can create different kind of component. Let's say you want, sometimes in the backend you have created a purchase requisition, and now on the creation of purchase requisition you want to create a workflow of procurement desk. Okay, so in such cases you can just set up that API trigger inside our app code. Okay, that can be leveraged whenever a PR will get created, workflow will get automatically triggered. Other than that, let's say for a business who is not interacting with SAP, so in such cases, we can simply provide a forms where they will maybe click on a submit button and the process will get triggered. So those are, I would say, event-based triggers. Okay. There could be also a trigger, which is a scheduled trigger. For example, you want the process to run every day at 9 o'clock. So that is a scheduled trigger. Process will get running by 9 a.m. Okay. Then the business, like you see in the below, the components have this mail, controls, forms, decisions, actions. So if I just maybe go one small few of one of them, mail is simply used to send the mail. Controls is basically to give you the if else conditions and while loop all conditions. Okay, where you can do the repetitive things. Forms, like I said, the customized forms can be developed. Decisions, where we are giving some business rules so that that can be followed while going in the process. Actions are reusable components that can be leveraged in different processes. This is the explore the SAP business or process automation product. So like I said, in store we have pre-built content already there. Okay, we can simply reuse the template or even use the live process which is already being hosted. Okay, and that we need to just feed the right components. Whenever you will be opening any, I would say, template or product, it will give you complete documentation how the business process have been made, the flow of steps. The input templates will be attached there, and any other information required, like what components have been used. Okay, all those things will be defined in those on the template itself. So it makes way easier to understand the things from a layman perspective. Next, I have came on to this monitor screen. Okay, so inside the monitor, you can see process and workflow instances, automation jobs, acquired events, automation overview. So this is complete process visibility the user can have at the real time to understand the, not only from a user perspective, from a developer perspective also, that how the processes are running, okay, in the real time, whatever they have developed. And next, I am on the screen of control tower settings. So in this one, we can configure the destinations, mail server, cloud ALM, and external authentication if required. Various cases, we will be, since ultimately we are using SAP business product. So we will be sometimes, or most of the times, we'll be interacting with SAP backend destinations, okay, or systems, I would say ECC systems. So those ECC systems or cloud systems for HANA systems, those for interaction, we need to have destinations so that whenever we are, let's say we are using a standard function module from a particular, and that like we want to create a purchase requisition, or I would say create material master. That action need to be occurred in some kind of system, right? That information we store in the destination, and we make sure that we are using this particular action in that particular system. So those we define inside the destination. And in the agent configuration, like I said, the most important thing is like whenever we are using any local application, okay, so then in that case, we need to have the agent configured. So to configure the agent, we have this agent configuration part where we can do the mass registrations of agents. Okay, let's say we have to run this process in 100 different systems. So those are in mass registration we come up, and the single registration we can simply do in the agents part. And whenever you will be just maybe going to the business process automation screen, you will be seeing this it will be asking firstly, while creating projects, you want to create application, automated process, or business side. Okay. So basically, depending upon your business need, you can select anyone. And process automation, you will be finding two different subtypes, which is process and automation. Automation, like I said, it is a single, it is a sub module where you are defining the regular task. Okay. And in the process, you are combining all those sequential tasks in a single process. Process is ultimately, you can say, the main or master module, and automation, you can say, the child module. And SAP workflow evolution, generally, since we are using this, the main reason behind using the RPA along with the workflow management, we have this thing that ACC workflow was on-premise solution, and this BPA build process automation was a global cloud solution. This format of ECC is complex, okay, and since it is a very you need to have technical jargon how to develop those things. With but with BP it is very much easier because it's a complete small JSON format. Okay, simple context format is required to trigger anything. Okay, inside the BP, so it gets way easier. We have the standard for ECC workflow. We have the standard My Inbox Fury app. Okay, with the fixed layout. But with cloud workflow, you can define a complete customized My Inbox where you can define the complete custom UI inside that, okay, depending upon your business needs. Next, moving on ahead, complex to develop workflow, okay, inside the ECC or Flexi workflow. Flexi is basically which we are using in the SAP BTP and SAP Build service. So Build Application Studio, whatever you are developing are the Flexi workflow. ECC workflows, which you are developing inside the SAP basic GUI ECC. But BPA is ultimately the cloud next version of it. And I would say the advanced version, business process automation service. So inside that, you can define this. So it gets way easier because there's a low code, no code, I would say. And then it is a simple drag and drop. So it makes the things way easier. In ECC, we have to do the additional configuration to give required for emails and notifications. And this already have those, it have integrate also already this integrated functionality, which we don't need to define explicitly. The next, there's a no pre-inbuilt framework available to generate runtime report for workflows. For ECC workflow monitoring, we have to define a complete new set of code to which will give the runtime report. But with BP, the process visibility feature gives us a very real-time analytical report for which we don't need to do anything.